just checking it out,
Okay.
scoping out all the names.
No worries.
We should go on Friday night, do we? I didn't think so.
And I can, it's up to you if you want.
No.
Let's see. Yeah, okay, yeah, we are meeting.
Well, actually, it'd probably be better if you did it.
Okay, that's fine, I'll be glad to.
I always stumble over these things.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. No, I ring Randolph.
Can I grab you a tally? Can I grab you a tally?
I have it right here.
Oh, got it. Great. I'll make sure you got a kid as well. I can do that. Yeah, we're good that way, yeah. Still there? Michael is sure, never have to worry, you okay for a full. Have that back. We have that back. I need a minute. We did answer that question. We did, it was not discussed. That's how they do it. Well, it also a good idea. If you can stay in your home residence with support, you're far better. There's a chance of that, but still, it's a whole system. It's a different way of looking at it.
Shabbat Shalom. We are going to get started tonight on page 10 for Yedid Nefesh, and We're pleased to have Don Horties leading us tonight for our service. Page 10.
Yadid nefesh of harachamon Moshoch avdoch el ritzonoch Yarus avdoch kemo ayal Yishtachaveh bohadarach Kirov lo yedidutach Benofet suv bechol ta'am Hador no'eh ziv ha'olam Nafshi halad abatach Ana elna rifana la Becharot lo no'am zivach Os titchazek v'tifrapeh V'hoitolach shiftach olam V'tich yechemu rachamecha chusna al ben avach Ki ze kama nisof lirod b'teveret uzach Ana eli machmad libi chushana al tit alam Higalena ufros aviv olai et sukat shelomach Ta'ir eretz mikvodach Nagila v'nismechabach Macher achuv kiva moed V'chaneni ki me'olam Yadai dadai dai 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 dadai dadai dai yadai dadai dai dadai dadai yadai dadai yadai dadai dai yadai dadai 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 yadai Page 11, I guess. L'chu neranan aladonoi, nori alatzur yishenu, nikad mafana betoda, bizmirod nori alo, kinag mafana betoda bido, bizmirod nori alo, Kiel Gadol Adonai Umelech Gadol Al Kol Elohim Asher B'Yado Mekarei Oretz V'Tofot Horim Lo Asher B'Yado Mekarei Oretz V'Tofot Horim Lo Asher Lo Hayom Arbaim shana akut bedor b'mar am te'e levevchem v'chem lo yodu darchi asher nikbati ka'afi im yo'ovun el menuchati. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, shiru ladonai kol oretz, shiru ladonai baruchu shemo, Patru mayom layom shishuato, safru bagoyim kevodoi, bechol ha'amim niflotov, Ki gadol Adonai, chulo ma'od, no rahu, I, I'll call Elohim, I, ki kol Elohe, ahamai Elilim, Adonai shamayim asa, Hodor lifana, os tiferet, b'mikdasho, havul Adonai, mishpachot amim, havul Adonai, kivod be'oz, havul Adonai, kivod shemaho, su'umin chad, uso l'chatz rotov, hishtachavul Adonai b'chadrat kodesh, hilu mipanav kol oretz, imru v'goyim, Adonai malach, ein tikon tevel baltima, yadiv amayim v'mishmertim, yismechu b'shmayim v'togev oretz, Yiram hayom, umelo, Yalo Shaddai, Vichol Asher Bo, Oz Yeranunu, Kol Atzeya'a, Lifnei Adonai, Biva, Lishpot Ha'aretz, Yishpot Tevel, Betzedek, Be'mayim, Emunato,
Continue on page 15. A responsive reading, perhaps.
Responsive reading, okay. Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, the many distant lands rejoice.
As the thick darkness surround the divine righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about.
Flashes of lightning illumine the land, the earth watches and trembles, mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the master of all the earth.
The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory.
Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God.
Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment.
You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine.
Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving from the hands of the sinners.
Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Shir Adonai Shir Chadash. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot ha'aretz v'yishpot tevel b'tzedek v'amim b'meishorim. Let's read it responsibly on page 19. Adonai reigns, nations tremble, the one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake.
Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, awe-inspiring, Holy One.
A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly.
Exalt Adonai, our God, bow down before God, the Holy One.
Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among them who called upon thy divine name, called to you, and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst a cloud. They kept your covenant and the law you gave them. You answered them, Adonai, our God. You were a forgiving God to them, even as you punished them for their transgressions.
Exalt Adonai, our God, and bow down to God's holy mountain. For Adonai, our God, is holy.
Romamu Adonai Eloheinu Vishtachavu Lachar Kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu Vishtachavu Lachar Kodsho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu V'hishtachavu L'char Kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu V'hishtachavu L'char Kodsho. We sing in unison, page 21. Havu Adonai B'nei Elin. Havu Ladonai Kivod Va'oz Vahu Ladonai Kivod Shemo Hishtachavu Ladonai Lechadrat Kodesh Kol Adonai Al Hamayim El Hakavod Hirim Adonai Al Hamayim Rabim Kol Adonai Ba'akoach Kol Adonai Bechadar, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et Arze Havanon, Vayakideim Kimo Egel, Levanon Vesirion, Kimo Vein Re'enim, Kol Adonai Chotzev Lavotesh, Kol Adonai Yochil Midbar, Yochil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yochil Elayolod, Vayechesov Yirarod, Uvechelo Kulo Omer Kavod. Adonai lamabu yashav vayeshev Adonai melech le'olam Adonai oz le'amo yitain Yinono yivorech et amo v'shalom. L'chad Dodi, page 23. L'chad Dodi L'chad Dodi L'krat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabala. L'chad Dodi L'krat Kada Penei Shabbat Nikabala. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad. Hishmiyanu el hamayuchad. Adonai echad ushmo echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'lit hilah. L'chad Dodi L'krat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela L'krat Shabbat L'chu v'necha Ki mirikor habracha Mirosh mikedem l'sucha Sof ma'aseh mach v'shavot tehila L'chad Dodi L'krat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha, Kumitzei Mitocha Hafecha, Rav Loch Shevet Be'emek Habocha, V'hu Yachamol Olayech Hemla, L'chad Dodi L'krat Kala, Penei Shabbat Nikabela, Hitna Ari Me'afor Kumi Live She Big Day Tiferet Ami Ayad Ben Ishai Beit Halachmi Karva Ella Shida Allah L'chad Dodi L'krat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela Hitorari Kiva Ore Kumi Uri Shidaberi Kivod Adonai Alayik Nigla L'chad Dodi L'krat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela Lo Te'uv Shiva Lo Techolmi Ma Techachi Umachechemi Bok Yechesu Anie Ami, Niknatong Ir Al Tila, Lichad Dodi, Likrat Kala, Hine Shabbat Nikabela, Bahayu Lishimsa, Sho Sayik, Berach Kukol Mivalayik, Yasis Alay Elohayik, Kimsas Chatan Al Kala, Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, Pene Shabbat Nikabela, Yamin Ushmael Tifrotzi, Be'ed Adonai Ta'aritzi, Ayadish Ben Partzi, Nismecha Benagila, Lecha Dodi, Lekrat Kala, B'nai Shabbat Nikabela. Bo'e v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala, toch emunei am segula, bo'e chala, lecha dodi lekrat kala, b'nai Shabbat Nikabela.
Continue on page 27.
Yizmor Shir Le'yom HaShabbat Tov L'chodol Adonai U'Zamer L'Simcha. Tzadikata Mor Yifrach Be'eres Bavanon Yeske Shetolim Bebeit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenovon V'Seva B'Shenim B'Ra'ananim Yeyo L'Chagin Ki Ashor Adonai Tzori Elo Avatamo Adonai Malach Yehud Levesh Edotecha nemun mod leveitcha nava kadesh Adonai. Edotecha nemun mod leveitcha nava kadosh Adonai. Adonai la'orech yomim. Mourner's Kaddish, page 30. Anyone's saying Kaddish? What do we do if no one's saying Kaddish?
There may still be someone joining us on the stream. There may still be someone joining us on the stream who is reciting Kaddish, so
We'll do it.
I can recite. I'll recite. Kaddish Atom, Mourner's Kaddish here on page 30. If you're reciting Kaddish, please join me. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shmeich Rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'alama divra kiruteich, v'amlich malchuteich, v'chayechon, v'yomechon, v'chayrechol, Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau, v'zman kariv, v'imru amen. Yehei Shmeich Rabbah, v'barach la'alam, v'olamei alamaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, Shmeich tekudsha, v'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush v'chata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'alama v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'imramav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
The service will continue on page 39A with Baruch Hu, followed by Ma'ariv Arabi.
Baruch hu et Adonai Havoro. Baruch Arayam Baruch Le'olam Vo'ed.
You may be seated.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu. Uma'avir yom u'vivein laila, uma'avdil ben yom u'vivein laila, Adonai tzva'ot shemo, El chai v'kayom tamid yimloch oleinu le'olam vo'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Ama'ariv aravim. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amcha ve'ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadata. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shokveinu uvkumeinu, nosiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, li'olam vo'ed. Ki chem chayenu v'yorech yomeinu, uvohem nege yomam v'layla. Avatcha al tasir mimenu l'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'yavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol lebavcha, b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, u'b'lechtecha b'derech, u'b'shachbacha u'v'kumecha, u'kishartam la'ot al yadecha, v'hiyu l'tatafot b'neinecha, u'v'taftam al mezuzot beitecha v'yishmerecha. Adonai Elohechem Emet. U'malchuhot rotzon kiblu alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael l'chanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru kulam mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh norah tehillah tehosef eleh u'malchuta ra'uvanecha b'keyom lifnei Moshe ze'elianu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam vo'ed v'ne'amar kifad Adonai Yaakov u'golo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai go'al Yisrael ashkivenu Adonai 45. Ushmor tzeitenu vo'enu l'chaim l'shalom yatov yad olam ufros olenu sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, ufores sukat shalom olenu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
We turn to page 46 and we rise for Shamaru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'doratam barito l'amai beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, ki sheshet yomim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'oretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Yikeda v'yikeda shemei rabba v'yom adivrach irute v'yam lich malchute v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agola uv'izman koriv v'yemaru Yehei shmei rabba mevorach olam olamei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalol shemei dekudashon le'elo min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'yolama v'yemaru.
Silent Amidah begins on page 47. turn to page 53 as we continue with the symbolic recapitulation of the Amidah.
ויכולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Baruch atah Adonai Elohei v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Hoel Hagadol Hagibor B'Hanara El Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Oretz Magen Avot Bidva'oro Mechaye Meitim B'Mamoro El HaKadosh Ein Kamohu Hameniach Le'amo Yom Shabbat Kodsho Ki Vom Ratzah Lehaniach Lahem Ki Vom Ratzah Lehaniach Lahem Lefanav Navod Be'yirav V'Fachad B'nodeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid Me'yon HaBrachot El HaHoda'ot Adon Adon HaShalom Mekadesh HaShabbat Umvorech Shvi'i Umeneach B'Kedusha V'yamedu Shnei Oneg Zecher L'Maseh Bereshit Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Ritzei v'Mnuchatenu Kadashenu v'Mitzvotecha V'tein Chalkenu b'Toratecha Sabeinu b'Tuverecha V'samchenu b'Yeshuatecha V'tacher libeinu l'avdecha b'Emet V'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu V'hava v'rotzen Shabbat Kodshecha V'yanuchu vo Yisrael Mekadeshei Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Yitgedal v'yikadal Shemei Rabban V'yomod divrochi r'tei v'yamlech malchutei B'chayechonu v'yimechonu v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael V'agolo b'zman kori v'yimaru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam la'omei amaya Yitbarach Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitbar V'yitramam V'yitnasei Yidadar V'yidalev V'yidalol Shmei D'Kudashah Le'elo min kol birchato v'shirata Tushbachato v'nechamoto Dami rom b'yomo v'yimaru Titkabel tzlot hon avot hon D'chol Yisrael kadama v'hon Divishmaya v'yimaru Yo Yehi Shlomo Baba min Shemaya V'chayim Olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru Ohosei Shalom b'mramav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al kol Yisrael V'yimaru v'yimaru Amen Ohosei Shalom b'mramav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al kol Yisrael V'yimaru v'yimaru Amen Ohosei Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael Yaseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael V'yimaru V'yimaru Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho b'yavo v'ratzonin chilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila l'mikroi kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. This is real wine.
Yes.
I was guzzling it like it was grape juice. You didn't tell me that.
We'll continue on page 56 with Aleinu. We remain standing.
Here we go.
If we can.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lated gedula liotzer v'reshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishmachot adama, shelo sam chalkenu gohem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamona, v'anachnu korim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kakatu b'Toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam v'oed, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, v'melech al kol ha'aretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, echad, u'shemo echad.
We turn now to Mourner's Kaddish, Kaddish Yatom on page 58. As we do, we'll note that today, the 3rd, 4th of February, the 13th of Shvat, we are observing the Yortzites of Gustav Carter and of Sylvia Dubin, mother of Neil. Over the remainder of the week, we're also going to be observing the Yortzites of Lena Freeman, Howard Lazier, Benjamin Wise, Sophie Weiss, Cindy Weiser-Stewart, Frida Schechter, Samuel I. Cummins, Julius Barron, Florence Horvis Goldstein, Harold Richmond, Reva Ganson, Simon Seidenman, Moses Ryan, Norman Koch, Arthur H. Isaacs, Slade Wood, Gussie Hahn, Jeffrey Weiser, Ellen Zapinski, Ted Arnovitz, and Myron Eichler. We also think at this time of those we've lost in the last 11 months, among them Kay Gaines, Irv Zipperstein, Elaine Nevins, Joan Dane, Eileen Hodish, June Howard, Gerald Sapadin, Pam Simowitz-Weber, Hal Schneider, Rosemary Bloom, Avram Ogman, Russell Mason, Judy Kell, Jerry Schockler, Eddie Sakes, and Mary Jane Harry. If there's anyone else you are remembering at this time and you'd like to mention a name for blessing, I will invite you to do so. Again, if you are reciting Kaddish, whether you're with us here or with us on the live stream, I'll invite you to join me here on page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. Ba'alama divrah kirutech v'yamlich malchutech b'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach la'alam u'lolamei alamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha brichu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushvachata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alama v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Aseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Announcements?
Shabbat Shalom to everybody here and on the live stream. We have a really full weekend. Tonight we have a special treat as we recognize Highest Refugee Shabbat and our special speaker, Sandy Spinner. Tomorrow as we chant Shirat Hayam, our choir will be assisting us with the service, followed by a full lunch in honor of Sonia Milrod's significant birthday. On Sunday, in addition to Morning Minyan, Sisterhood Book Club, there is a special Tu B'Shvat program. And for what else is going on throughout the week, please check either the electronic bulletin outside or check our website. There's just a heck of a lot going on. I also want to acknowledge the Sisterhood who recently made a gift to the kitchen to replace our stove oven, and we are grateful to them. And that's all for tonight.
The only other things I have to note are have some birthdays and anniversaries. Birthdays we'll announce tomorrow. Anniversaries we announce tonight. And I see 3 anniversaries on our list. I'm guessing that may well be accurate. But if I miss anyone, please let us know. Again, much like January, February is not the most popular month for weddings unless they're destination weddings in the Southern Hemisphere, but that's a different matter. Among those on our list this month are George and Glynis Smulian, Peter and Barbie Tomeno, and also Lev and Moran Dorfman, all celebrating anniversaries in the month of February. Mazal tov to all of them. Hopefully they are all someplace warm right now, and warmer than the walk outside, I can say that much. Mazal tov to all of them, and look forward to announcing our birthdays tomorrow and celebrating. I know with at least one person who's celebrating a birthday, and we'll note that today, the 3rd, is Sonia's birthday. So happy birthday, Sonia! And we're looking forward to celebrating more tomorrow. And the only other thing I do want to add to Connie's announcements is we do have Worldwide Rap coming up next Sunday. As it happens, not this Sunday but the following, the 12th, you may notice that coincides with a particular date on the calendar which is very important to NFL fans, and that is not by coincidence. Every year the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs picks Super Bowl Sunday as the day for which that's set aside. So if you ever find yourself wondering, gosh, when's Worldwide Rap coming up, you can always just check, ask Google when the next Super Bowl is happening, and you'll know. You'll be able to just say it's going to be on that day. So convenient. That will wrap up my very brief warm-up comic act. We will turn to, how do you feel about Yigdal? Yigdal's good? All right, Yigdal's good. We'll turn to page 62 and we'll conclude with Yigdal.
Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishtabach nimso v'yenei el metziyuto echad ve'en yachid k'yichudo livnam ve'amen sof le'achduto ein lo demut aguf v'yeino guf lo na'arak elav kedushato kadmon l'chol davar asher nivra Rishon v'yein reshit l'reshito Ino adon olam alok motzor V'regdulato malchuto Shefan nevuato nitano Elon shesulato v'tifarto L'kom b'Yisrael k'mo she'od Novi u'ma'abid et emunato Toratan et Natan le'ahamo el ayad neviyo neman beito Lo yachalifo el lo yomir dato Le'olam amim lezulato Sofev yodea sitorenu Mabit l'sof davar b'kadmato Gomel yish chesed k'mifalo Noten Rosh Hara Karishato Yishlach Leketz Yamin Neshichenu Lift up Machake Ketz Yeshuato Meti Michael Berov Chasto Baruch Adei Ad Shem Tehilato Meti Michael Berov Chasto Baruch Adei Ad Shem
Yishar Kochacha. Don, thank you for leading us tonight. We appreciate it. I don't know, Sandy, I don't know you well enough to introduce you. Is someone, Connie? Thank you. Connie will introduce our guest, and look forward to hearing from Sandy.
Like many of you, I've had the privilege of knowing Sandy Spinner for eons. This is good news. It ages us, but this woman has been involved in advocacy on behalf of refugees, Jewish and others, for most of her life. She spearheaded efforts to visit the former Soviet Union when other people were not, and she has been a tireless advocate throughout the years. During the height of our Jewish Communities Resettlement Program, she headed up and instigated our ESL program for years. After the resettlement program was over, she has continued her relentless advocacy of refugees, both here and around the world. And I could talk for a long time, but rather than me giving you background about Sandy, I'd rather she talked about her current involvement with refugees. And I just have to say I'm so pleased that she is joining us this evening.
Well, this is like my return here. I come every few years, like the weather. Okay, the story I'm going to tell you tonight is true. I have changed the name so that we can protect the people involved. I call it Hannah's story, Escape from the Taliban. Hannah was the targeted victim of an assassination attempt by the Taliban, who had warned her the previous week that she needed to stop attending school, but she continued attending. She was 13 years old in February 2020 when the Taliban came to her school and shot her as she was leaving. Her school principal was walking with Hannah. They shot the principal in the head. Hannah survived. Her principal did not. Wounded multiple times, Hannah was eventually taken to the United States Military Hospital at Bagram, where she underwent surgery to remove her shattered right kidney and repair the damage to her intestines. Since one of the bullets had grazed Hannah's spine, she also sustained a spinal cord injury, a weak right leg, and constant pain. In February 2021, I was contacted by the surgeon who operated on Hannah to see if there was any way to get her out of Afghanistan. He wrote, "I saw Hannah in December of last year and worked with her on some rehab issues and some very simple and fundamental braces. Her older sister and father accompanied her here. After our visit, her older sister, who's 22 years old and is fluent in English, asked to speak to me privately. She appealed to me to find Hannah a safe home in the U.S. She and the family were concerned that Hannah would still be in danger and a target. The doctor told me he believed the whole family was targeted as well. Hannah and her family are Hazara, one of the ethnic groups in Afghanistan. They make up about 20% of the Afghan population. They are said to be descended from Genghis Khan's armies and are easily identifiable to the majority Pashtun people by their almond-shaped eyes and pointed cheekbones. The Hazara are Shia Muslim, while most other Afghans are Sunni. The animosity between Sunni and Shia Muslims is centuries old. Hazara people believe in education for their daughters. Although Hannah's parents are not educated, her parents insisted that their 6 daughters should attend school. Several of Hannah's older sisters attended college and speak English. Also, their mother and 2 of the older girls worked for international non-governmental agencies who treated women and girls. They feared that the only son in the family would become a Taliban target as well. They had reason to be afraid. The last time the Taliban were in power, they systematically targeted and killed Hazara people just because they were Hazara. After the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan in August 2021, there were reports that the Taliban were again killing Hazara in some of the villages. Even before August 2021, Hannah's father survived a suspicious automobile accident that left him in serious condition. One of her older sisters had to flee to a neighboring country after Hannah was attacked because the sister, also in her early 20s, began working for international NGOs, non-governmental agencies, when she was 16 years old and was receiving several warnings from unknown people. On April 21st, 2021, another sister wrote and said, "My sister was only 16 when she started working with several organizations to achieve her dreams and help people. She bravely did lots of activities for these people, impartially, without thinking her life was in danger. When we were children, all my siblings were prohibited so many times from going to school. My dad supported us and never gave up. We never gave up and did our studies with the most difficult challenges, death risk, and people's unfair judgments. But after the attack on Hannah, my sister left." For some months, while he was still in Afghanistan, the U.S. doctor who treated Hannah and I corresponded by mail, email, and text. I also emailed and FaceTimed with members of Hannah's family. Together, the doctor and I persuaded the family to leave their home in Helmand province ahead of the U.S. withdrawal and before the Taliban would take over the country. The decision to leave their home and community was complicated by the logistics of transporting Hannah, who required a wheelchair. Plus, this was a family of 8. Since it was still possible to send money through normal channels, we raised enough money to pay for the family to hire a car to drive them to Kabul. Soon after they left their village, the Taliban overran it, shooting people and burning homes, theirs among them. Now they had no home to go back to and no way out of the country. They found housing in Kabul and tried to get an appointment at the Pakistani embassy to apply for visas to go there. One day, 2 of the sisters ventured out, but were chased through the streets and threatened because they were recognized as Hazara. For weeks after that, the family hunkered down, afraid to buy food or be seen on the street. All the while, the Army physician and I raised money to pay for food, rent, processing fees, and bribes. Finally, in mid-September 2021, they were issued visas, but by then ways to get to Pakistan were limited, and the Pakistani border guards demanded extra payment, especially from Hazara people. To give you some idea of what kind of money we needed, just for getting visas for the family of 8 was about $1,000. We estimated that it would cost another $4,000 to get the required pass that the border guards requested to allow the family to cross into Pakistan by the only open overland route. If they could book a flight, it would cost approximately $900 a person. After much discussion with the doctor, who was now in the U.S., members of the family and myself, the family decided to take the overland route. But when the family managed to get to the border crossing, although they had the required passes, once the guards recognized them as Hazara, they were refused passage, and the father and son were severely beaten. They returned to Kabul, depressed and frightened. Hannah's health deteriorated, and she was becoming withdrawn and depressed. They began to lose hope of leaving. In fact, they were convinced that when the Taliban found them, they would be killed, or worse, the girls would be enslaved. Weeks went by. Finally, they were able to book airline tickets and reach Pakistan. Now the real work began. In order to be recognized as a refugee, individuals must be interviewed by a representative of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, known as UNHCR. There they would tell their story and present proof that they had a credible fear for their lives because of their religion, cultural affiliation, or membership in a specific group. There were thousands of Afghans in Pakistan needing the same adjudication in order to receive protection, stipends for food, and perhaps resettlement in a third country. We continued to send money to the family while working with HIAS and their contacts to see if we could get some kind of help for Hannah, whose physical and mental health were increasingly fragile. HIAS helped us contact the NGO agencies that the sisters had worked for as volunteers to see if they would verify that the girls really worked for an international NGO. That would give the family priority to be resettled in the United States or some Western country. But the waiting list for that was more than a year. Hannah was losing hope. Weeks went by. The family waited along with the thousands of other Afghans in Pakistan. And then one day, I got a call from one of the sisters. A group from a Scandinavian country had come to the building where they and several Afghan families were living and interviewed their residents on their claims. Immediately, they offered the family resettlement in their country. The family asked me if they should accept. But before I answered, I asked HIAS headquarters to verify that this group was legitimate. Unfortunately, there are imposters out there who claim to be humanitarian organizations, but are instead criminal enterprises that trick the vulnerable and then sell them into servitude. After everything these people had endured, I could not imagine allowing them to be further abused. But at last, good news, they were a real humanitarian organization. Within a few days, the family was on a plane and on their way to new, safer lives. It has not been easy in their new country. They have had to face all the things that refugees around the world deal with: learning the language, the culture, finding a support system, getting jobs, education, and decent housing. And then the disappointment of learning that the doctors cannot undo the physical damage that Hannah has suffered, but they are out of harm's way. Hannah's story is not unique. Today, there are more refugees in the world than at any other time since the Second World War. New and innovative ways to help lower the tremendous backlog of people awaiting resettlement are being developed. Communities are stepping up and forming welcome circles, groups of 8 people or more to commit to being the resettlement agency under the guidance of HIAS and a few other organizations. Today, people at risk from Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Venezuela have an opportunity to find safety and support in greater numbers, although it is only a temporary 2-year reprieve called humanitarian parole. And then what? It will require either an act of Congress or that each individual newcomer work through legal channels to seek the change of status so that they can apply as asylum seekers. Most Afghans here are already doing that. You can help. Contact your elected officials and ask them to pass the legislation that will allow Afghans and Ukrainians who are here as humanitarian parolees to access a path to permanent residence. Form a welcome circle and host a family. Support organizations that help refugees and asylees. Volunteer, donate. Here in Cincinnati, Refugee Connect and the Immigrant and Refugee Law Center work with refugees and asylees. And the Law Center also works with undocumented people from the southern border. And always remember, we too were once strangers. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. Questions? Don?
You told us a lot of stuff all at once. Is there like a fact email addresses where we can find out more about these things, where to donate?
You can Google Refugee Connect, and they have a web page, and you can do it right online. And you can also Google the Immigrant and Refugee Law Center, IRLC. They also have a web page, and you can donate to them online. Catholic Charities is still resettling people. They are resettling people through the State Department program, but more and more our government is going away from the public funding of refugees and looking at the model that was used in Canada, where refugee resettlement is privately funded by individual groups and organizations.
First group was Refugee Connect.
Sorry?
What was the first group? The first Refugee Connect.
Refugee Connect, yeah.
And we can donate directly to them. And we can donate directly to them online.
Yes, yes. And there's always HIAS. My first love, though I am on the board of both Refugee Connect and the Law Center here. And they're both wonderful organizations. They have received great recognition and many grants for the work that they are doing, which is new and very exciting. So, question? Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, the Law Center represents anybody who, any refugee or asylee who is here and needs to regularize their status. They fill out forms. For example, with the Afghan refugees, the Law Center takes down their information, interviews them, and applies for asylum for them, and sees them through the process. It is all done pro bono, and it defends refugees and asylees in cases where there have been crimes committed against them. So that's it. And Refugee Connect does just that. It connects refugees with the resources that they need to succeed in this culture. When someone comes as a refugee, they receive approximately 3 months' worth of money from the federal government to resettle. And that's supposed to pay for rent, food, and whatever else they need till they get a job in 3 months. Now, many of these people do not speak English, so learning English in 3 months is impossible. After 3 months, the federal funding stops, and so the obligation of the refugee agency is legally over. That is where Refugee Connect comes in and helps the refugee to access the other services and things that they need.
Are these organizations in many cities around the country, or is this just
These are Cincinnati local organizations.
similar organizations
Yes.
in other cities?
Yes. Yeah.
Where did Hannah end up? You said a Scandinavian country?
She's in a Scandinavian country.
Are you at liberty to say what country?
I'd rather not.
Sandy, talk to us a little bit about the refugees who have come to Cincinnati. What are the main refugee groups? Where are they going? How well are they doing here?
Right now, as I know it, their Afghan refugees are the main ones coming, but we are also seeing tremendous numbers of people coming through the southern border. And these are people who are undocumented. Most of them are coming from what we call the Northern Triangle, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, to escape the violence and the anarchy that is going on in those places. And so we're getting quite a lot of those people, but we don't know how to count them because they pretty much stay under the radar and within their own communities.
An organization like Refugee Connect, the other
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get a sense of how many refugees we have in Cincinnati right now.
Oh.
And I realize a lot of people are under the radar, but I'm wondering an organization like, for example, Refugee Connect, how many people are they servicing right now?
The last thing I saw, they serviced something like 400 people in the past year. But there are many more,
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.